bases dropped on a Thursday edition of Soccer Down Here. Thursday thoughts, send yours our way on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. Use the hashtag Thursday thoughts. Lots of thoughts about MLS playoff action last night. NYCFC handles Philadelphia pretty easily in a 3-1 win at Yankee Stadium. Portland wins 2-1 in Dallas. Little dicier than you might have thought late, but Portland was able to jump out to a 2-0 lead in front of a sparse crowd, very sparse crowd out in Dallas. We're going to talk about the attendance, and we're going to talk about what MLS has to do to change it, because attendance has been good around the league this year. Playoffs are a little different, especially when they're on Halloween night and you have 2 days to sell tickets, and yeah, these are things that the league has to work through. So we'll talk about all that. We'll get into Atlanta and NYC coming up on Sunday. We don't know what time yet. We won't know until the games are finished tonight because of TV time slots. But they will play on Sunday. We know that much. And it'll probably be one of the more higher profile games, I would assume at the 5 or the 7. But just have to wait and see. Jason Longshore, John Nelson here with you this morning. And John, what'd you think about NYCFC and their demolition job? Isn't quite fair because Philly was hanging around and had a few chances, but control of the match, let's say, an NYC team that looks like they did earlier in the season.
Yeah, and I would agree that they were in as complete a control as you could be in. And when you get the goals on the board early, then you get to dictate pace and tempo, and Philadelphia has to try to work their way uphill in a very difficult building. And NYCFC did what they honestly, you set out to do. You sit there, you've got the one, you get out early, put it down, get it done, get ready for the weekend. So, NYCFC, to me, they just took care of business, and you got to see once again, what Maxi Morales can be for that lineup. And you just, when you sit there, if you haven't seen NYCFC and you've kind of heard about Maxi Morales, then last night was another one of those examples where you can see who he is as a player. And there was a couple of special moments when it came to putting the ball in the back of the net too, especially on the third goal. And, once again, you do what you do, survive and advance, move on, and they get the weekend.
Here's the highlights from last night, if you didn't get a chance to see. New York City FC 3-1 win over Philadelphia Union.
As New York City FC finish in third place in the East, take on sixth place finishers, Philadelphia Union. The referee again says play on. Once again, Philadelphia Union giving a right back. Herrera with the effort, and Blake didn't look very comfortable on it. Nice little flick in behind. Good run from that left-hand side. What a finish!
That is absolutely lethal once he takes his chance. He's absolutely there in front of Gaddis, who can do nothing to recover because he strikes it first time.
A chance to break, and again there's space in behind. The defenders torn apart. David Villa with the effort, and it's into the corner. A clinical counter-attack from New York City FC, and they've doubled the lead.
And on the hunt he goes, and just when you think he's lost the legs to get there and find that yard of space for the finish, he pulls the trigger. It's a wonderful finish. Not the best of strikes, but he'll take it in the bottom corner. Beautiful, beautiful finish.
Morales is in behind here. Blake off his line. This could seal it. What a finish from Maxi Morales. The Philadelphia Union back three. Caught going forward. The ball in behind.
He is in behind Trusty, utilising his pace. And that is another fantastic finish. They've been deadly tonight, New York City, and this is another fantastic finish from a quality player. The little magician strikes again.
Senior, nice run from him. Still Senior gets his cross in. Burke with the finish.
It's a great goal. It might be too little too late for the Philadelphia Union, but this has given them a heartbeat. They've got a chance.
The final whistle goes. New York City FC are moving on. Ian, a little bit more economical with possession in the second half, but overall fully deserving?
Fully deserving victory once again for New York City Football Club.
A very solid win for New York City FC. I have to know who at MLS put the jazzy music bed underneath the highlights. That was interesting.
No.
I have no idea why that's there, but okay, whatever. Maxi Morales, he's a player that I think flies under the radar a little bit, and I'm not making a joke about his height when I say that. He is a very talented player that doesn't get a ton of credit. On this team, David Villa takes a lot of the headlines with NYCFC. But Maxi Morales, I think, is the player that really makes them go. This is a guy who, was on an Argentine U20 World Cup title-winning team. He was the named second best player in the tournament behind Sergio Aguero. A lot of people forget that. His career's taken him to a few different places. He was a star in Serie A with Atalanta, played over 140 matches with them. Played in Mexico with León, and then the move to NYC was a great move for his career. And he's a perfect fit. And I think when you get Morales in front of that duo of Alexander Ring and Yangel Herrera, Morales is completely free to go find the game. And for a player in his role, that's vital. He's a scrappy defender, and he doesn't get much credit for that. But he's able to win balls back in a very effective way in the middle of the field, up higher on the field. That takes a little bit of pressure off this NYC defense. But with that support behind him, he's able to just go and find the match. It's an underrated part of Yangel Herrera's return. Herrera was great last night, controlling the midfield and covering a ton of space. 3 tackles. I believe he had 3 interceptions, recovering the ball all over the field. But his presence, along with Ring, it just defines the midfield a little bit more. I don't think Ring ever found a partnership that worked out of the other players in the group. And Morales is improved playing in front of those two. And you get to see the best of Maxi Morales again. And he's going to be a figure that Atlanta United will have to figure out how to deal with, because I think he sets the pace for NYCFC.
I was going to ask you what you thought about Herrera's return last night.
I mean, he's returned. He's back. He is what he is. There's no return. I mean, he's played 180 minutes now. The question is, he's played 180 minutes in a couple of days. How is he going to feel on Sunday? That's the question here if you're NYC, because Herrera came back and played 18 minutes in the next to last regular season game, played 90 on decision day, played a good bit last night, and you've got to wonder what his legs are going to be like dialing it back up to play again on Sunday. They did get him out. I have to go back and look at where they subbed him last night. But, I mean, you gave him a little bit of rest. How much is that actually going to mean? Atlanta United has to think about it a couple different ways. If you see that he's a little unsteady early, if he's feeling the effects of this many minutes in a short period of time after a long injury layoff, you'd have to be really tempted to go at him. And Remedi and Herrera battling it out in the middle of the field could be quite interesting to watch if they're in similar roles.
Herrera played 80. Amagat came in for him.
Doesn't make much of a difference. I mean, we talk about getting guys rest, and yeah, it was 10 minutes. It doesn't really change too much.
And then the other guy that I wanted to get your opinion on was Tajuri Shradi, who got a goal and was in for 63 before being subbed out for a 40.
Yeah, he's another one who's had some injury issues. He was injured in the match at Mercedes-Benz Stadium earlier this year. He's a player that Glenn Crooks told us about, early on. He's an explosive player, and he benefits from David Villa getting all the attention, Maxi Morales getting some attention, other players on this team being high profile. Jesus Medina was a more high profile signing. But Tajuri Shradi is a guy who does not lack for confidence. He can make some magic happen. We saw it last night. It's a great dummy from Villa to let that ball ride. And Tajuri Shradi doesn't hesitate, just rips a shot in the first, 10 minutes and gives NYC that early lead. early leads in playoff games, especially knockout round games, just transform everything. It's even more important than in a regular season match. So you get that early lead from DeJory Schroeder, you get that moment of magic, and Philly is chasing uphill. Philly chased uphill on Sunday. So, what did they really have in the tank? It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Philadelphia going forward now. So Ernst Tanner is a guy who is taking over for Ernie Stewart. He is your new sporting director of the Philadelphia Union. Does he want to bring in his own people? Jim Curtin's out of contract. Is he going to come back after this? I still say I think Jim Curtin had one of the best coaching jobs of the season. I think he did a great job to fix things where they were kind of going a little sideways. And he made the bold move of dropping C.J. Sapong, moving him out to the wing, playing Corey Burke up top. He got a lot out of young players this season. I think it'd be very harsh if Jim Curtin loses his job here, because I don't think he's had the resources to work with that other teams have had. But it's not looking good for him to stay with a new guy in charge and 2 bad losses at the end and a bad loss in the Open Cup final. So Jim Curtin could be out looking for a job, and I'd be curious to see where he lands, but I'll be even more curious to see what Philadelphia does, because I don't know if there's a guarantee that they're going to be able to find somebody better than what Jim Curtin has done with this group.
And that is always the question. You always know in your hip pocket when the new guy comes in and is your boss. Doesn't matter what form of life we're talking about here. But new guy comes in, he's going to want to put his stamp on it with his people, his vibe, and that's why in all of this, and I'm trying to do just rudimentary addition in my head with all those factors, and that's why I don't think Curtin's going to come back. But once again, to your point, okay, so you've created this opening for yourself. Who are you going to want to bring in to fill in that space? And that's why I think that Philadelphia would be wise, profoundly so, to keep Curtin in that position. I just don't know if that's necessarily going to happen because of the new guy above him.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, looking at it from the outside, it's easy to say that they should keep him there. But this is a guy in Ernst Tanner's coming in with a lot of experience. I mean, he's been involved in Germany and Austria, 24 years of experience. He's got connections. So is he going to turn to one of those connections to bring somebody in, to bring in his own guy? Jim Curtin's not his guy. Tanner had no connections to Philadelphia. I'm a little surprised that Ernie Stewart did not sign Curtin to an extension before he left, or signed him to one, going into the off season. That's a little surprising. And I mean, if I was Jim Curtin, I'd feel a little hosed over by that. I mean, it's just kind of, Curtin's had to work with nothing for a long time, and it looks like this is probably going to be the end of the line for him. I'd honestly be surprised if he stays at this point. Be curious to see where he goes, because I don't know, outside of this year, making that move on Burke to bring him in and getting, I think, good performances out of young players pretty consistently. Keegan Rosenberry had a Rookie of the Year campaign. Trusty and McKenzie in their development. I want to see where Jim Curtin ends up. I don't know if any of the jobs out there, if they're the right job for him right now. If Chicago was to make a change with his experience playing for the Fire, that could be an interesting one, but I think they need to go higher profile. So I don't know. It's a dilemma, and I think this has been the question about Jim Curtin for quite a while is, how much of Philadelphia's poor results have been Curtin, how much of it has been the roster. I kind of think a lot more has been down to the roster than Curtin, but this is a year where they brought in Borek Dochkow, the year where some of your academy guys are starting to develop. You put yourself in position to have the opportunity to host a knockout round game and win an Open Cup, and neither one happened, and you lose in the first round in the knockouts. It's it's a tough situation, and it might be time for a fresh start. With a new sporting director, it probably is the time for a fresh start. We'll dig deeper into Dallas and Portland in the next segment with some highlights from that. I believe before we go to break, we do have some audio of Jim Curtin's post-match, right, John?
Yeah, we do. It's his opening statement discussing what went down last night, courtesy of the Philadelphia Union, their own selves.
All right. It is in the drop, and here we go.
Yeah, first and foremost, full credit to New York City FC. They deserve to win tonight. Focusing on my group, I still could not be prouder of the season that we had. A lot of young players showed a lot of growth and developed. A game like tonight for them is an experience that will only make them better. So as difficult as the end of the season is and hard as it is for our group, only one team is happy out of the 12. Only one team ends this thing with a smile on their face, and that's the one that lifts the MLS Cup. We aren't going to be that team. We came up short. We did a lot of great things this season, but in the big game against a team that is of the quality of NYCFC, we were a little naive and young maybe in our transition defense, and the quality players punished us. That's the reality of things. But again, full credit to my players. I'm really proud of the season that they all had sticking together. It doesn't end the way we wanted to and the way we hoped to. But again, I think that the club has shown now that we have an identity of good young American players, of experienced veterans that can really play with anybody in this league, home and away. A cohesive group and a group that isn't scared of anybody. It's a difficult scoreline tonight, and I know that perspective-wise it's going to look bad. But at the same time, I still see a lot of positives with the group, and I'm proud of them for the season they have.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
And we're back, Soccer Down Here, November 1st edition of the show. Getting into the knockout round matches from last night. NYC 3-1 winners over Philadelphia Union. Atlanta United will be headed to the Bronx on Sunday. Get into that as we go. But the other match, the nightcap last night, Dallas hosted Portland. Here's your highlights from Portland's 2-1 win.
Mosquera's service, looking for Hedges. He knocked it down. Ziegler with the finish. Looked off to me. No goal is the signal.
This is pretty clear. As that one comes off Hedges, Beto Ziegler is offside. You said that. What'd you say, by a yard? Might have been 2. It gave Blanco a chance to fall over it at least.
Diego Valeri finds the corner. He's done it again. The Timbers maestro puts Portland on top on the road. What a hit. Dallas quickly back on the ball. It's Barrios breaking in. Michael Barrios, bad angle, hit the crossbar, still loose. Mosquera blasts it high. Dallas so close, but still trailing in this first half. Now he has a chance. Early for Badji. Mabiala staying with him. Dominique Badji goes down. The flag's up. That's a foul. And what's the call from Alan Kelly? It's the back pocket. Terrific run by Ebobisse battling with Ziegler. Gonzalez is out. Open net. Valeri. Pace. 2-0. Portland down a man, but they're up 2 goals now. Diego Valeri might be taking the Timbers to the conference semis. Lamont took him down. Driven. Mosquera's header alive. It's deflected in. Maybe Dallas has enough time. 94 minutes. They finally get one. Portland advances on the road. The Timbers to the conference semifinals behind Diego Valeri.
So Dallas had some moments here. You know, you had the goal that was called back up for offside to open things, and it was offside. It wasn't even close. I'm shocked that the flag didn't go up live to call that. That was one of the worst calls to not call offside that I've seen in a while. VAR was pretty simple in this one. They hit the post after going down 1-0. They get a man advantage for the second half. Dallas just never could fix the offense after Mauro Diaz left. I'd love to know why Pablo Aranguiz was left out of the 18. They didn't have that option off the bench, especially after Portland goes to 10 and you need a playmaker to pick things apart, and you didn't have it. Mosquera had to, or not Mosquera, sorry, Pedroso, the left back, couldn't start. This is where Portland and Savarese took maybe not criticism, but just a few side eyes about resting players on decision day. He felt like he couldn't really improve his spot. He was going to be where he was going to be, so he rested players. Paid off. Dallas didn't. They lost in Colorado. They fell into this game, and they had to start Minor Figueroa at left back, and Figueroa is 35 years old. You know, he's not a left back at this point in the season, at this stage of his career. And Dallas just could not do enough to stop Diego Valeri, who Portland was fresh. So it's a tough situation. There were some interesting referee things happening here. We were talking about the handbags at the end of the first half. John was not happy with the referee, and I'd like to know what he could have done differently, because go back and watch the clip. I've seen it isolated a couple times now. At the very end of the half, Diego Chara is walking back up the field, and Carlos Grueso stops in front of him, and Chara just has his arms out like, hey, I'm not trying to run into you, hey. And Grueso falls down.
Yeah.
Okay? Then 2 Dallas players come running in and tossing Chara around and trying to start something. At that point, everybody's doing whatever, pushing, shoving, arguing, all the normal stuff. What did Alan Kelly do wrong? This is all on the players, and more than anything, it's all on Dallas. Like, it was kind of pathetic, to be honest. There was no need for that at that point. It seemed like Dallas was just trying to goad Chara into something.
No, and I agree with you on Grueso completely and totally trying to go to red out of it. That was just stupid. And then his players obviously coming in to defend him. I get all that. I think from my perspective, I would have liked to have seen something resembling, hey, everybody hang here. We need to sort this out.
But how did he do that? All he has is a whistle. I mean, he doesn't have anything else to get people's attention. If people are running around doing whatever.
What I needed from Alan Kelly in this situation is a vaudeville cane, and just basically making sure that, hey, you ain't leaving yet. You gotta. I got some decisions to make. I got to consult with my boys here, and we got to figure something out. But no, the whole Dallas thing to start it all was just absolutely ridiculous. But and then I look at what Sabiga didn't call with Ben Sweat in the first game, and I'm just like, okay,
Now that's the one, and that's where, if we're going to talk referees from last night, that's the one that's kind of shocking, is a very late challenge from Ben Sweat. Alejandro Bedoya's crossed it in. Sweat just takes out Bedoya's ankles inside the 18. I mean, clear as day. And nothing. It doesn't get reviewed.
No, nothing.
It should have been a penalty. It could have been at least a card. I mean, it was pretty bad. It was in the first half where that game looks a little differently at that point. It's just completely reckless from Ben Sweat.
And I was just shocked that nothing came out of it. And then I think that when you are a defender, regardless of where you are, but when you're in a defensive position and you see something like that happen, then I think you can continue to test that limit for the remainder of a match and sit there and say, okay, well, if my guy did that, I guess I can kind of do the same thing, because nothing else, nothing's going to come of it. So I think that those kinds of instances set a tone. And in this case, it was just a bad tone and a bad example to have anything going forward that you can kind of file away for later if you need to have that kind of a challenge.
But yeah, from Sabiga is a different conversation. I think Alan Kelly got all the big decisions in the Dallas game right. I mean, the offside was correct. The red card on Mabiala was correct. He dragged him down. It's an easy call. I think Kelly did a good job out in Dallas. He did a good job dealing with the nonsense at the end of the first half, because there was nothing red card worthy in it. Throw a couple yellow cards, calm everybody down, get them to the locker room. That's it. Sabiga
was Ziegler offside twice?
I don't. On the goal?
On the goal that got called back. It looked like he was offside initially, and then he was offside again when he put it in.
I don't know about initially, but he was definitely offside on the second one. Either way, it's definitely no goal.
Nope.
Sabiga, look, games are going to be called differently in the postseason, and Sabiga's trying to let that game play. He doesn't want to deal with cards and affect the match. You don't want the referee to be in the headline at the end of it. I totally get that. But the Ben Sweat one, that's egregious. Like that's an egregious tackle inside the 18 that you've got to call. The other stuff, the way he managed it, yeah, he let some stuff go that I think would have been cards in the regular season for sure. But again, you don't want to get involved in the yellow card accumulation, which is 2 yellows, and you sit the next game. And you've got a couple NYC players on yellows now. You probably could have thrown about 2 or 3 more the way that game played out, but that's not the way you want to call it in the postseason. As long as it's consistent, I'm fine with it. I think Sabiga did it as good of a job as he could managing that match out, with the exception of the Ben Sweat no call. That was the one that I think was a big problem.
Yeah, I just keep going back to the video of Ben Sweat basically just, wiping, I'm just going to wipe him out completely. And then I think you see after he wipes him out, he's looking around, looking for an official to call something, and nothing happened. And then that's when he got up and kept moving. So once again, you file something like that away, and you know what you think you can get away with for the rest of the match.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about another match from last night. Boca Juniors gets through, and Copa Libertadores final now. The final 2-leg final, because moving forward it'll be like the Champions League with a game in a neutral site already predetermined. This will be the final one where it is 2 games. One at El Monumental, one at La Bombonera. Boca River for the Copa Libertadores final for the first time, and Buenos Aires needs to prepare. Luckily, there's 3 weeks in between the first leg and the second leg. That kind of helps them. So we're going to bring in Felipe Cardenas from The Athletic. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about Atlanta and NYC as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. Not October anymore, November 1st.
October 32nd.
Yeah, pretty much. The day after Halloween. And Copa Libertadores is going to be crazy in the next month with the time between games and that much time to talk about it. It's going to be bonkers for the Argentine media and media all over South America. And this guy, Felipe Cardenas of The Athletic. What's up, Felipe?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Let's get straight into it. Boca gets through, River gets through, and we have the Super Clasico Copa Libertadores final. The last time it'll be decided over two legs will be this one of all finals. How insane is it going to be? Is there a scale of insanity that this falls on?
You know what? I was thinking about this, and I said, this sounds a little cliche, but really, I think there are no words. I think there are a lot of adjectives. I think it will be kind of like a nuclear final, an atomic type of Super Clasico, something that we've never seen before. And if you go back, you mentioned that, this could be potentially, the last time we do the Copa Libertadores ends home and away, and what a way to end it. We're getting the best. The biggest derby in world football, possibly the biggest rivalry in all of sport, giving both teams the opportunity to host, which is a huge tournament, a huge trophy for these clubs. So, we posted it on Twitter. It was funny listening to the fans respond to what I wrote last night about, there's just really no comparison. And it's no disrespect to the great rivalries in American sports. I grew up with a lot of them, and I know that there are some big ones and some bloody ones, but this Boca River is a global bucket list item. Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan, if you're close to those rivalries, that might be a bucket list item, but Boca River is something that anyone every corner of this planet knows about and wants to be at. And so imagine now when these two teams are playing for the Champions League equivalent of what is the Copa Libertadores.
So, all right, let me get this straight. First ever Super Clasico in a Copa final.
Yep.
First ever final, two teams from Argentina. First ever final, two teams from the same city. I was trying to break this down for folks, and I will admit that I have not seen the match itself. I've highlights, clips, atmosphere, but I've never sat down to see it in person, taking the 2-hour block, sitting there and locking it down. The biggest comparison that I could come up with was if you had Iron Bowl played in both stadia back to back, that you would have one game of Alabama-Auburn in Tuscaloosa, then going back to have Alabama-Auburn on the Plains. Is that anywhere close in a comparison sense for the casual fan who would be watching this for the first time?
I mean, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I just think no. I just think that you can compare big game type of arguments, but Boca River and a lot of just like South American and even European rivalries, I think they go beyond the pitch. And I mean, we're looking at like local, the actual government in Argentina and local government in Buenos Aires. Like, they are now frantically thinking about how are we going to prepare for this. If I'm not mistaken, I think the G4 Summit is also taking place. Like, there are so many factors that become part of this match that have nothing to do with the ball, and it just dates back, just so long, decades of fans and families and players. And true hatred. This is not a time to be talking about hatred, but when these two teams get together, and it was interesting to hear the players. Like, they were both players after the game, or both sets of players after each of their matches were very professional when they were asked, what is it going to be like to play against River? What is it going to be like to play against Boca for this championship? And they were very professional. They talked about like what a great opportunity it's going to be and what a big game. But deep down, this is something that is difficult to put into words. Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. And to your point, that the rivalry started from a social place, right? Like, as you mentioned, River Plate, that's, they're Los Millonarios, the millionaires is literally their nickname. It still is. And Boca, even if you go to, I've never been, but if you go to Buenos Aires and you go to the kind of like the Boca neighborhood, it's a lot different. It's not a high-end neighborhood. It's very rustic. It's very, it's just it's gritty. It's a gritty neighborhood, and the stadium is as well. And I don't think they'll ever change it. But things have changed, and Boca is a global brand. They're a huge club, just like River, and they're spending a lot of money. And I was listening to a post game talk show in Argentina last night. And what they were talking about is, and this is where the criticism of Bardos Esqueloto comes from, is that the panel is like what's happening here? Like, Boca, we feel they're the most complete team in Argentina, that they're a more complete team than River Plate, and like last night's performance kind of showed that. But they don't know that they don't always play that way, and now you have River Plate, which is has this aura of being kind of like the classier club, and they're kind of just making it happen with academy players and a few good signings and a couple veterans, and an up and coming coach that he's won this tournament already, but he's beginning to write his name in is kind of the upper echelon as managers, and so that was the debate. Like, these two teams are going to come together. And the narrative is much different this time around. So, I tend to agree with that. I think Boca Juniors has a very good team, very complete, very solid in the midfield, veteran players around the pitch. Goalkeeping is an issue for them, but they're stout defensively. There's, the Colombian Wilmer Barrios is a defensive center midfielder that is being, and this is not far-fetched, he is being compared to N'Golo Kante. He's being looked at by Tottenham, Real Madrid, and he's a guy I just would never want to have to deal with on the pitch. He is a rabid defensive center mid, and then they just have players that can make things happen on their own. River, we know, Piti, Quintero, Bordet, and some really good defenders, and possibly one of the best goalkeepers in the world that no one knows about. So just amazing talent, and now they're going to get together and decide a final.
So then let me ask you this. For someone who has never seen it, what would you recommend for a broadcast plan to enjoy it for the first time? If no one's ever seen it and you're encouraging them to see it, what environment would you encourage them to watch it in?
It's funny because I'm one of those guys that when big games happen, I'm not I need to go find a sports bar and I want to be with the people. I need to be by myself. I need to be on my couch where if something goes wrong with my squad, no one is going to see me, just crumble. But sometimes when you're new to a rivalry or new to a sport, it's great to get in with the people and mix and mingle with both sides of fans. Here in Atlanta, I'm not sure if, I know Atlanta United has amazing watch parties all over the city. But the World Cup is big here as well, but this is still really new for a lot of people. And I don't know if there's going to be a watch party for Copa, but if you can get friends together, if you guys can get together and watch everything from the pregame. I mean, this is the type of environment where cameras are following the bus on the way to the stadium. And it's a Super Bowl type of pregame atmosphere. And the media coverage is just, it's out of this world as far as access goes. And those are things that just make the game much bigger than it is. And then stay for everything and enjoy it. Let's
there
do
you
it.
go.
Right. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I still think the dates. I think they will still be there. There will be about 2 to 3 weeks between. But I think they're still discussing the exact dates. And something that I also saw last night that is worth mentioning. I saw a quote from Chiqui Tapia, the Argentina Federation president, saying that no River or Boca players are going to be chosen for the international break. I don't know if that's a done deal, but that's how big that this game is. Right, G20. Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised. I mean, there are matches in Argentina that unfortunately had to be played closed doors because of the rival fans and what they call barras bravas, which are essentially hooligans. We can't put it any other way, and gangs that just kind of that are still part of the soccer culture in that country. So that could very well be the case. The Boca and River have some of the most rabid supporters groups in the world, and they're not all nice guys.
But Felipe, let's dig into Atlanta and New York now that we know what's going on with Atlanta United's next opponent. Eastern Conference semifinal starts on Sunday at Yankee Stadium. What are your thoughts now that we know who the opponent is?
Yeah, I think Atlanta United would have preferred another matchup, to be honest with you. I think NYCFC is one of those clubs that Atlanta United, struggles with, and not in a negative way. I think they're just really well matched, and NYCFC has players on the pitch that are difference makers and can kind of hurt you unexpectedly and force you to chase a game. And we know the history between these two clubs as well. When Atlanta has been in the Bronx, they've had to really bunker and just to, get a result at the end. And here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, NYCFC plays with a lot of confidence, and they've gotten results here as well. So I remember, Jeff Lornowitz, who has no social media presence at all, did like a Q&A with the fans, a couple months ago on Twitter. And I think he was asked that question, like, what team in MLS is your, the most difficult matchup, or do you not like to face? And NYCFC was his choice. And I think we know that this is, two teams that respect each other. And I think the other thing that's concerning about NYCFC is now they look good after some subpar performances throughout the season. And then we have Atlanta United, who is really on a slump. I mean, performance-wise, and to be blunt, they just don't look good right now, and they really need to find their form before Sunday, and that's difficult to do if your legs are gone, or if because honestly, I think Atlanta United isn't a team that doesn't know how to win, and I know that we like to point to things like, hey, they haven't won a championship, they're learning to win. Tata Martino has done the same thing. Are they distracted? No, me personally, I don't think that's the case. I think this is a team that's tired, and they need to somehow miraculously find their form in just a couple days.
So then looking at last night, going over it, because we went over it in the first segment, but what were some of your takeaways from the action out west last night?
Well, listen, I'll be, again, super blunt. I was trick-or-treating with my kids. So I had to do that. And then by the time, we made a pit stop at a friend's house, after a couple glasses of wine, all of a sudden we realized it was 9-ish. And I'm like, hey, I need to write and I need to watch Boca Palmeiras. So we sprinted home and I was able to do that. And I was just tracking the results, I managed to catch the last probably 10 minutes of Dallas Portland, and from what I've heard and when I was listening to the show this morning, you guys, I mean, NYCFC just sounds like they just played a better game, and the Philadelphia Union, who I was kind of behind them. I thought that they were a team that could have definitely advanced to the next round, that they had the coaching behind them, the results, the momentum, if you will. But they just came across a better team and a team that feels pretty confident in a knockout tournament. So, and Dallas, I think just really disappointed, and that's too bad, because they're a team that I enjoy. I think they have a lot of good players. They have a nice style of play, a great coach. But Portland, all of a sudden, kind of looks like that team that can get an ugly win in a tournament, and I think they're okay with that. And I think that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I think Giovanni Savarese kind of thrives on that a little bit. He's completely fine playing a match where they have 20% of the ball and have 2 shots on goal, but end up walking out as the winners. You've touched on it on Twitter, and you kind of mentioned it just a second ago, too, about Atlanta and the lack of energy, lack of stamina here at the end of the season. Dig a little deeper into this. Sure. This is something that you talked about after the Toronto match. I looked at it more as a team that looked a little overwhelmed by the occasion at the start, and then were kind of shocked into finding their form in the second half in the 3-5-2. You were going pretty hard on the fact that this team looks tired.
Yeah, and I believe that. I think, first of all, Toronto did not look good at all. I just don't think we all know they're a subpar team. Great players. I mean, they have excellent players on the pitch, but they just haven't played well. And I don't think they were just this dominant team against Atlanta, at home. And what I saw was an Atlanta team that just wasn't sharp mentally and physically. And here's the thing, just like in every sport, when you're tired and your body doesn't have it anymore, and your legs start to go, and you start pull muscles, and your brain and your decision making goes with it, and that's where you see the bad passes, the poor decisions, the loss of defensive shape. Josh, our friend Josh Bergransky, who I probably butchered his last name, I apologize, but he posted a picture on Twitter of what the defensive shape looked like before that first goal in Toronto, the first early goal. And I saw guys just standing up, defenders that were just upright. And that tells me that they are physically worn down, and they may have been overexerting themselves throughout the season. And so, I wrote a column for The Athletic that should post today, hopefully, where I really go into the injury history of this club, dating back to last season, and really asking questions about, how does this team prepare physically throughout the week, game to game? What is going on during international breaks? Are they resting? And is the style of play, which we all know now is very aggressive, very direct, very vertical, it's pressing, it's taxing on the body. Is that a factor? And if so, the team needs to correct that. And we as journalists and observers and even fans need to recognize that and not necessarily just look for, different excuses. I think this team, yes, they haven't won a Supporters' Shield ever. They haven't won a trophy, but they have players that have been molded in some big time environments in some very physical leagues. And some of them are even struggling here in MLS. And that's something to consider. I think that MLS is a very physical league. It might not have the quality of Argentina's Superliga, but I guarantee the Argentines that are here are like, this league is legit. I'm running a lot. I'm defending a lot. I'm being run at a lot. And I think MLS in general and soccer in America has always kind of had that characteristic of being physical and fast, and you need to be prepared for that physically.
Yeah, it feels like now the skill level has caught up with that physicality a bit, and it's a much better product. It's not all the way there yet, but it is a better competition than we've seen maybe in the last 5 years. Felipe, we could keep you on all day, but you have work to do, and we have a show to finish as well. So we're going to talk Copa Libertadores next week. We'll have a preview 1v1 for sure.
Sounds good. Like I say, always, you know where to find me.
Cool. Felipe, we will track you down. Thanks for your time as always.
All right, guys. Take care.
Be good.
We're taking a break. We'll be back to wrap up hour number 1 after this.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here. Final segment, hour number 1 on November 1st, 2 knockout round games done in MLS, 2 to come up tonight. DC hosts Columbus, LAFC hosts Real Salt Lake in the nightcap tonight. A couple things, I'm completely with Felipe that this league is very competitive and it's better than it's ever been. But on the negative side, defensively, it was not a good year for quite a few teams. 3 different teams broke the goals conceded record that Minnesota set last year. Minnesota was one of them, which is not good. Orlando and San Jose also allowed more than 70 goals. 8 teams conceded more than 60 goals. I'm all for the focus on the attack. I'm all for, goals being scored, but defending with some of the lesser lights in the league is a little sloppy at the moment, and would like to see a little more investment in the quality there as well.
And you just, when you look at the sport over the last X number of years, I mean, we've seen it in football where it's now basketball on grass. When you look at the sport over the last, say, 5 years, what do you think the major reason that we're having all of these goals conceded is? Is it
It has nothing to do with the sport. It has to do with the league. It's not happening around the world. We're talking Major League Soccer. So it's happening in Major League Soccer because of TAM, because you have targeted allocation money that is being used to upgrade the level of talent, but it's mostly being used to upgrade the level of attacking talent. It's very simple. That's exactly what it is. You're not seeing a whole lot of TAM or big money contracts on defensive players, and that needs to change as teams need a little more balance.
And that was what I was trying to get at, but just was trying to figure out, okay, why are we seeing all of this? And if it's because a lot of folks are investing in offense as opposed to investing in both offense and defense, then that was kind of what I was trying to get at with my poorly worded question.
Yeah, but it's just MLS. It's not happening in other leagues. So, this is an MLS thing. That's the conversation that happens here, and it doesn't happen in other sports. Is you'll have things happen in Spain or in Italy and in England and MLS in their leagues that are league specific, not sport specific. So you're going to see, trends and things happen in different parts of the world that don't carry over to other parts of the world. That's why different leagues have different characters, and some players are better fits for different leagues. So we'll have to see how that goes. One defensive player had been making, I think, some strides, and was a player that I've always been a fan of. I think he's one of the best left backs in the league, Brandon Vincent. He announced his retirement at 24 years old from the Chicago Fire. That was pretty shocking. I mean, Vincent's a guy who was a star at Stanford, came into MLS, has been getting national team call-ups. I think he still had room to grow as a player, and he's announced his retirement at a young age. Really surprising, and haven't really seen any other details about it. Don't know if there's anything injury-wise to do it, or Stanford education isn't anything to shake a stick at. Don't know if something else came up, but little surprised to see. And that's another, really good defender in this league who is not going to be in the league next year. So I want to see more teams try to balance their rosters out a bit. And as MLS teams participate in CONCACAF Champions League and in international competition, I think it will happen, at least at the top. But hopefully teams realize that there are different ways to build a competitive roster. It doesn't always have to be sign every attacker you can. We're up against the break. We're going to take it now. We'll come back with hour number 2 and some of your Thursday thoughts after this.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, November 1st. We found somebody. Jarrett Smith's with us.
He has emerged from the woods.
Okay.
Covered in leaves, sticks, and the failures of playoffs from Oscar Pareja.
That's not what I was expecting, but okay. Yeah. Oscar Pareja did not get it done with Dallas again, and it was a very sparse crowd in Frisco, 10,297 on hand.
Are we sure about that?
I didn't count them. I'm just going by the number that's reported. That's bad enough. I'm not going to try to make it worse. Look, this is an issue. MLS is... They have to figure this out because it's a bad look on, at least one game was on national TV. The Dallas game was not, which was another whole weird thing. It was on Unimas. ESPN and FS1 did not opt to take it. The Dallas broadcast was on ESPN Plus, and I haven't seen Dallas broadcasts much this season, but this one felt really thrown together, and everything about the game felt very thrown together. And that's a problem because it kind of is, to be perfectly honest. You know, this is a situation where Dallas could have been in the bye and not been playing here, and they're thrown into it because of a bad result on Sunday, and they have to turn around and sell tickets and put together a broadcast and do everything in a couple of days. And you're also trying to sell tickets to a team that just fell out of the knockout round and lost their last 3 games. That's kind of a tough gig. I think MLS needs to at least put the knockout round games on the following weekend. Give a week between Decision Day and the knockout round games, and then move into the conference semifinals. If it means it's a weekend knockout round game, a midweek conference semifinal first leg, and then weekend conference semifinal second leg, I'll take that. I think it would be better for the overall product than what we have right now, because 10,000 in Dallas, 15,000 in New York City. It's Halloween night. Sure, I get it, but 2 days to sell tickets is just not going to work.
And then it was, 15,000 that was announced at the futsal field in New York City.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, there's got to be a way, and I think that your idea of pushing it to the weekend, especially having quick turns for TV production, for game day operations, for all of these elements that have to be put in. If you're trying to put the best appearance on a product for games that are as important as the knockout stage is, one and done, all the drama, etc., moving on to the next round, I would think that you would want to give yourself, Jarrett, that much more space to sit there and go, all right, let's plot this out. Let's give it some time so that way we can have a lot more butts in seats than 25,000 total for 2 matches.
Tell you what, it puts into perspective what Atlanta pulled off last year with a one-off game against Columbus where that place was jumping. So that's nice. I mean, and there are other factors, like you said. You had Halloween last night. I think the weather wasn't great in New York for one thing, or in Dallas for another thing. And Dallas already struggles to fill that place up, but not great, Bob. Not great at all.
It's not a good look, and this is something that the league needs to work towards to give these teams a better chance to do it. And of course, you get your conspiracy theorist folks out there and want to try to find things about it. This New York City attendance was their worst in club history, and I think the reason it was because of it being a holiday and 2 days between games. I think their fans are also looking forward to the conference semifinals, and I'd expect a big crowd on Sunday. So Dallas, they've struggled for attendance. They're going to struggle for attendance with an even shorter run-up to buying tickets. That's common here. Something we've talked about a lot is that these clubs need to start thinking a little more outside of the soccer bubble and the way they promote these things. I think that will help when they have short time to sell tickets. But it's always going to be difficult. It's just a difficult format, and hopefully this will not be the norm. I think DC will see a good crowd tonight. LAFC should see a good crowd. It's the first playoff game in club history. Last year, Atlanta had 69,000 plus for the knockout round game on a Thursday, a few days after decision day. So it can happen, but NYC was surprising. Dallas was honestly not that surprising. It does need to get better across the board. And this is something the league has to figure out format wise what they can do to help.
And when you're looking at the markets that are going to be hosting over the weekend, I mean, you're going to have complete and totally stacked joints. At least I would think you would.
Yeah, but I mean, it's different because you have more time, and you're also talking about teams that are going to be coming off of some excitement. It's a little different for Dallas. But that's the point here. Dallas lost coming in. It's going to be hard for them to sell tickets, a game they fell into. Whereas Portland won on Wednesday, and a bit of a surprise. Now they're coming home for a game a few days later. That's an easier sell. It's still a short turnaround, but it's an easier sell because you have a little bit of momentum. So that's just the format is really tricky. The weekend games, I think, will be okay. Portland obviously has a great fan base, and I think they would have drawn on short rest too. But NYC, I would not expect to see under 20,000 at Yankee Stadium on Sunday.
And go ahead, Jarrett.
Yeah, getting to the actual game state of things, you talk about Portland. Man, that was – you talk about Dallas, limping into the playoffs. Then they get Portland. They get to go up a man. And it doesn't help. It just wasn't – if you're a Dallas fan, it wasn't an enjoyable experience on the field, really. I mean, so – yeah, it doesn't help, I don't think, with the whole, nobody came to the game thing either. So, I mean, you don't know that going into it, but still.
The team hasn't been a whole lot of fun to watch since Mauro Diaz left. And this is, I think, a big question for Oscar Pereja as to, the signing of Pablo Aranguiz. Has it just not worked out? Has he just not shown anything in training? Has it, I don't know what the deal is, because you brought him in as a fairly like-for-like replacement of Mauro Diaz. You decided on Maxi Urruti playing as the 10 instead. And in this match, Aranguiz is not even in the 18. That's a shock to me. And that would be a big question I would have if I'm looking at this team as to what happened this summer. What was the thought process here? Because, okay, Mauro Diaz wanted to leave. You found a transfer fee for him. All right. You kind of have to make that move. You do. You go get Aranguiz. Why did he never really get an extended run out? Why did he never really get much time to see what he could do with this team? it felt like you started managing the team straight away with more of a desperation vibe, trying to just keep it together and get what you could with, a Ruti playing as a 10. He's not a 10, he's a 9. And getting Dominic Badji in as a 9, okay, that's a good move. I think Badji's probably a better goal scorer than Ruti, but playing them together, it's just, it never felt like it came together for Dallas. And the quality of play dipped in a big way. That's an issue. It was a bad second half for Dallas. That's an issue. It's different, and I think people are trying to find some kind of common thread here between the last 3 years, and there isn't one. I think they're all different situations that happened over the last 3 years. You didn't win MLS Cup in 2016 because Mauro Diaz had the Achilles injury late in the season. That's it. You won the Supporters' Shield. You won the Open Cup. That's it. You didn't win it because Diaz got hurt going into the postseason. Done. All right, 17. I don't know. It was one of the craziest collapses we've seen. I think a lot of it had to do with the rumors about Urruti and Barrios and the transfers that were denied by the club. It felt like something was wrong in the locker room. Okay, you get those guys back. You start out great this season. But then Diaz wants to go, and there's a deal that makes sense for everybody to do it. You make the transfer, and you never recovered from it. So I think Oscar Pareja has questions to answer, but I think they're different questions in each season that he has to answer here. And these, for me, it really revolves around Aranguiz and why you didn't see a consistent true number 10 play with this team, because it worked with Diaz.
Topka TLC getting into the discussion, saying that the solution is easier. Just get rid of the 5th and 6th playoff spots. Those teams are historically right around 500 teams. Make the playoffs truly an accomplishment. Top 4 only.
Oh, that's a different story altogether, and I'm for that. I think the league has grown to that point where that's a really good thing to do. Now, one thing to keep in mind is one of the really good things about MLS and the format is that, let's look at this decision day. Every game had some kind of meaning on Sunday. You had teams who were trying to get in. You only had one team in each conference who could have got in on decision day. It was on the outside looking in. But down the stretch, you had multiple teams who had a chance. So you're going to eliminate some of that if you cut it back. And I'm fine with it. From a competitive standpoint, I'm good with it. I think it makes it a more difficult league, and I think that's a good thing. But what can you do to increase the competition in the middle of your table? Because this is something when I talk to people about Pro Rel and they're like, oh, you just have to do it because you have to do it. The conversation that always comes up from my end is, in a league with promotion relegation, you have things to battle for at the top, whether it's winning the league or Champions League spots or what have you. And you have things to battle for at the bottom. The teams in the middle, I mean, if you're 10th, it's nothing. It's boring. You're not playing for anything. What does it mean? MLS, it flips, because the top, you're trying to win the Supporters' Shield, which has value. I think it should have a little more value, but it has value. You're competing for Champions League spots. You're competing for playoff spots. You're competing to avoid the knockout round. In the middle, you're competing to get into the knockout round. At the bottom, you don't have a lot to play for. So it's the same. Competition is comparable in terms of how many teams have things to play for. It's just moved around in the table. If you make it harder to get into the playoffs, which is great from a competitive standpoint, you will have fewer teams with things to play for late in the year. And maybe that's part of a move towards an MLS 1 and 2. I don't know. Maybe it's something you try to dovetail together. But that is a concern on my end and something I think you need to look at.
And in discussing, and we do have Thursday thoughts in the queue, by the way. We do have some folks who have chimed in. But because one of the games last night, we did have one of our listeners to end a sentence in a preposition. Lewis Martin has a review of Toyota Stadium.
Very nice.
The stadium is small but has great sight lines and updated aesthetics. It feels like a small game and not like a major sport. Example, the big screens are both on the same side of the stadium. And he says he wishes that Atlanta United had the rights to the Chiefs like FC Dallas does for the Tornado. By the way, sweet T-shirt I picked up at the team store, and he has the crest on it, and it does, in fact, look pretty sweet.
Yeah, the Chiefs trademark was picked up by the North American Soccer League. I don't know where it currently stands. I know the NASL had it because they were very, very close to rebranding the Silverbacks as the Chiefs. That almost happened. I want to say they did some Chiefs gear through the NASL just a little bit. They didn't really exploit that because they couldn't keep a league on the field, but that's a whole different story. I don't know if they still have it. I don't know how functional the NASL still is at this point. So that could change. Who cares about the Apollos? Like, people say that, and I've never understood it. They played 1 year. Like, nobody knows who the Apollos are. They lasted 1 season. That's it. The Ruckus played more games than the Apollos. The Atlanta Attack played more games than the Apollos. The Atlanta Quicksilvers in the USISL played more games than the Apollos.
Oh, wow.
The Apollos lasted 1 year. They rebranded because the Hawks and Flames, the Omni group, were hoping that indoor soccer would take off. They were ahead of their time. I mean, it took off to a degree about 3-4 years later, but they bought a team. They didn't buy the Chiefs. They bought a team because the Chiefs went out of business and had to come up with a name, and Apollos and that logo kind of fit into what the Flames and the Hawks were doing branding-wise at that time, and there you go. But, yeah, nobody – I mean, if you put out an Atlanta Apollos thing, people are going to look at you sideways and be like, what?
I'd buy it.
Well, you'd buy lots of things. I'd buy lots of things. We're talking about, like, a branding campaign for something that, you know, let's say maybe 97 of 100 people would be like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I'd still buy it, though.
Well, good for
Much
you.
like
There's
Lewis
Atlanta.
did with the Tornado.
But Dallas Tornado. No. These are not the same things, John. The Dallas Tornado played from 1967 through 1981. They planted tons of seeds for soccer in the Dallas area. They are a huge brand. You saw Tornado. Dallas Tornado was such a big brand that foosball tables were branded with Tornado and had like a Tornado version of the logo on it. The Atlanta Apollos played 1 year and went out of business after playing at Grant Field. Like, that's it. The president of the Apollos at the end of the year, his quote, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing, but his quote was basically like, it's obvious I have no business running a soccer team right now. And that was the end of the Atlanta Apollos. 1 year versus 67 to 81, and I think the longest running team in the NASL. Yes, FC Dallas should absolutely do Dallas Tornado retro stuff and kill it because it has value. The Atlanta Apollos, zero value. Dallas Tornado has more value than the Atlanta Chiefs because of how long they lasted and how many players and kids and families grew up as fans of the Tornado and seeing the Tornado. So, yeah, that's a very smart move by FC Dallas. I like the stadium. It's not my favorite of that era and that size of soccer-specific stadiums. It kind of – I want to see it now. Like, we saw it as they were finishing the Hall of Fame end. I want to see it now with that in full and what it looks like. I think that was a good move for them. But it felt really weird that time when we were there on July 4th because of that. I think that upgrades the stadium, but I like Philly better. I liked trying to think of other ones that were very similar to that. I like Dallas more than Chicago. Where else should we go? I mean, StubHub's different. Stade Saputo's different. Philly is my favorite of those types of stadiums built like, I mean, we're talking 2005 to 2010, 11, that era of the 20,000 seat soccer specific stadium, a lot of times with a stage. Philly is the one that I like the best of those for sure. All right, we're up against it. Thursday Thoughts, as if you couldn't tell, is definitely kicking in with the Jack Handy Deep Thoughts. That's where we're at. So send us your Thursday thoughts on Twitter at @SoccerDownHere. We'll be right back.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
Living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
Had to be independent and take initiative, and that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Apolinski & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Apolinski at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Apolinski is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Welcome back. Thursday Thoughts edition of Soccer Down Here, November 1st. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning. And John, I believe we have some Thursday thoughts from the peeps.
That we do. Started before the show. Thomas Yuwin says, in any discussion of fall foods, it's critical to make a clear distinction between pumpkin and pumpkin spice. It is entirely possible to like one and hate the other because they're only truly connected by name. Pumpkin spice is not actually pumpkin. #food wars.
I was very clear in making that distinction. If people tried to take my comments about a pumpkin chocolate chip muffin that was delicious and slander it with basic pumpkin spice talk, that is not my fault, sir.
Yeah, the pumpkin chocolate chip thing, I can't. I'm just not a pumpkin person.
You're missing out.
You can have mine. That's how I look at it. And Andrew Baker says the pumpkin spice conversation is just a ploy to get away from the real question, where does Brunswick stew come from?
Yes, because I'm trying to keep John out of trouble because I don't want him to say ridiculous things about Canada again. We have a lot of listeners in Canada.
Well, here's the problem as well, is John is the most likely among us to end up in Brunswick, Georgia in coverage. So
that's true.
And him doing Brunswick stew discussions. I mean, he's going to him.
The show airs on ESPN Coastal.
I know,
yeah, but you're the one who goes down there personally during football season.
People are going to throw Brunswick stew at you.
Good, I'll take it home. I'll give it to everybody. I'll bring it back to it. I'll bring it back to the HQ.
You're not
when you're wearing it. You're not going to be able to take it home and eat it later. They're going to throw it at you, not in Tupperware containers. It's going to look like you can't do that on television. You're going to get slimed with Brunswick stew.
I don't know. Eric Schwartz says, after watching the NYCFC match, I'm confident Atlanta United can and will get a result in the Bronx. I see Jeff instead of Franco Escobar in the back three. It's about trust to play out of the back and limit those killer mistakes that doom the Union.
I can definitely see that. And that was Tata Martino's option in New York when he wanted to play out of trouble. It was Lorenowitz move into the back line. Could absolutely see it. I think the decision here is it Jeff or is it Eric Remedi as the number 6? Is it Jeff or is it Franco Escobar as the center back? And how does both decisions. How do they kind of shift the whole formation and give you that defensive responsibility you need in this one? The flip side is you're going to be playing a team that's coming in on short rest. Are you going to think about trying to take advantage of that? Are you going to think about running at him? Are you going to think about running at a Yangel Herrera who's played more minutes in the last 4 days than he had played in the last 4 months? Are you going to try to take advantage of that? That's an option as well, at least in the early going. But this is a very tricky match because, Felipe has been very clear in thinking this team is tired. I don't necessarily go down that road across the board. I think it's more than that. But if you're worried about the legs of this team and you're going into this game, you don't want to get into a physical battle with New York on that field. They're very good at dealing with it. They physically dealt with Philadelphia pretty well last night. You got to limit damage, and you got to think about the way to do that best while also creating some danger of your own. I do think it's 3-5-2. I'm not settled yet on if I would go with Lorenowitz in the back line instead of Escobar or if I'd go with him as the 6. Right now, I'm leaning a little more to the 6 because of his positional responsibility, and I think Escobar at center back as opposed to Remedi as the 6 in this match, I feel a little more comfortable with Escobar at center back than Remedi as the 6 at Yankee Stadium. It's not an easy decision, though. It really isn't. And there's pluses and minuses both ways.
Be an easier decision if, one of the marquee clubs in the league was actually forced to play on a regulation field instead of a makeshift baseball field with more divots than Passchendaele.
Yeah, there's that. I don't know if that would change the discomfort I have with making the decision. It's the decision for me is not as much of the field. The field's going to play into the match for sure, but this decision's a little bit more just about the occasion on my end. The field is going to be difficult, though, and we saw it at times last night. I believe there was a line about tripping in a divot and a field monster. They did lay down some more sod. It looked better. Still not good. It's still not wide. It's still going to be a problem for Atlanta. That's going to be something game plan wise you have to think about. It's not going to be that easy to play a possession game there. And that's been Atlanta's bread and butter. Are you going to fight through it, or are you going to find an alternative to it that still fits into your system? I thought what they did in Toronto in the second half is something you could definitely see replicated here.
Kevin and Tyler Epps both have thoughts on the back line. Tyler adds, I do think the 3-5-2 is the way to go, though, assuming Tito and Miggy are back.
Yeah, the 3-5-2, it's not quite as much based on Tito and Miguel for me. I think it's just more secure. I think it just protects you a little bit more. And on the narrow field, I think it actually plays out even better there. It compresses everything. I think it'll work. Miguel and Tito coming back does help for sure. You go back and look at the game back in June at Yankee Stadium, and it was the 3-5-2. I've seen one graphic of it that had it set up like a 3-4-2-1, and I think that was more to the way that Barco, when he was playing the second forward, he plays a little bit deeper. He plays a little bit more like a midfield. Tito's going to play a little more as a front runner. So, you got a result there. You get a 1-1 on Sunday, like you did back in June, you're happy coming home. You're very happy coming home.
And one other thought from Eric Schwartz. He says he would like both. He wants Remington behind Miggy, basically, and that was what his thought pattern was all about.
Remington?
Remedi and Nagby.
Are we going to call him Remington now? I like that.
I've heard that used previously.
I have not. I think you're making that up.
Nope.
No,
I see.
Really?
Yeah.
Who is using this? Because I have not seen it.
The same people who know what the Atlanta Apollos are.
I think it's two completely different audiences. I don't think those audiences overlap at all. Those 7 people are not the same 7 people, sir.
14. I thought we settled on 14 in the break.
I'm still thinking it's 7. Anyway, he wants to see Lorenowitz and Remedi. What does that do with Nagbe?
Well, no, he says he wants Remington behind Miggy.
Okay.
Remedi and Nagbe in behind Miggy is what he's looking at. He says, okay. Jeff instead of Escobar in the back 3.
Okay.
Remedi and Nagbe behind Miggy.
Okay, that doesn't work, I don't think. So, Jeff, LGP, Parkhurst would be your 3 center backs. Garza, possibly Bello, probably Garza as a left wing back. Gressel's a right wing back. Okay. Then he wants what now? Remedi
and Nagbe.
Okay, so he wants Remedi and Nagbe as the 6 and the 8 behind Miguel and Tito and Joseph up. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's going back to, to what we've talked about. I mean, you get into those decisions about where you place Jeff, and if Jeff's not as the 6, then it's Remedi. I mean, it's one or the other as the 6 for sure. So if that's the case, that's okay. The concern for me in that is you're going to have to see more tactical discipline from Remedi. He's not going to be able to play that role as the 8 as much because of this match and the way this will play out and the way that New York can hurt you. You can't drift away and give Maxi Morales space there in front of your back 3. You just can't do it. So if that can get worked out, I think that works. But that's the concern for me on it. I kind of like the idea of using Remedi as a second half sub to spell whoever needs it in the central midfield and giving Jeff the start because he's going to sit and protect the back 3 and I think deal with the threat of Morales a little bit more.
And one final thought before we go to break comes from Walt Baxley. And you can either tease an answer and go to break or answer here. With Tata and the new San Jose coach, I can see a new direction with foreign coaches and MLS coaching retreads going away. That's what Walt thinks.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit of time, but it's happening. You're seeing a larger pool of coaching candidates now for sure. It felt like before that MLS front offices were very reluctant to go outside of the box. I think Patrick Vieira's success factors into this too. Front offices are more comfortable in turning to managers from outside of MLS. I think that fear of, a foreign manager doesn't understand the rules of MLS. I mean, the game's played the same, and the manager is dealing with the team on the field. So if you have a strong front office, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter in terms of handling the TAM and GAM and YAM and academy signings and second teams and homegrown signings and all of that. So I think it will happen. I think it's not going to be like light switch flipped and you're not going to see retreads. Sometimes managers are the same as players. Sometimes a change of scenery and it all works out. But you're going to see more new faces coming into the league. I think the league is more appealing to managers as well as it used to be. And I think that's where, Vieira and Tata and hopefully Almeida will help convince some managers that, hey, this is a place that's really interesting to work because of some of the rules. It's an interesting competition. It's a good competition. It's a physical competition, but it's a competition where as a manager, I'm going to be tested because I'm not going to be in a position to be able to just spend more money than everybody and have a better roster and just trot them out. I'm going to have to work. And I think for a certain crop of managers, that's really appealing and really interesting. So you'll see more come in for sure. I think you'll still see some front offices, though, go for the tried and true safe bet. And sometimes those are going to be the ones that fail. Not all the time, but sometimes. Those are going to be the ones that really struggle in this league as it continues to grow and evolve. We're up against it. We're going to take the break now. We'll be back with more Thursday thoughts after this.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath.
He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties.
He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down Here, November 1st, Thursday Thoughts edition. A couple more segments to get your Thursday thoughts in on the show today. We have a few thoughts from people out there. John, what do we have?
A programming question from Andrew Baker.
Okay.
With Soccer Down Here listening in Germany. I've noticed since the show moved to Spreaker that the show has been more fluid, segments vary in length, and you've gone into stoppage time. Was this a platform limitation on BTR or because there are more regular guests and great storylines that deserve more time?
I mean, it's both, but we did have limitations over on BTR that we couldn't go past 2 hours. It was a hard stop. The way things were formatted there were a little different, and here we're able to do some different things. We're also able to talk in queue during the breaks and set things up a little bit easier. So yeah, it's definitely a better setup. Just took a little bit of time to work through it, and as you can tell, we're still working through some of the kinks as we go.
And let's see, Sherbs with Thursday Thoughts. Following up to this now that half of it has happened, if Atlanta can't beat great teams, then Red Bulls can't beat mediocre teams because we have the same record, just like the mediocre team they're about to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And when you look at, I think for Red Bulls, they're watching this DC Columbus series. Columbus gave them some serious problems this year. If Columbus is able to pull an upset, and I don't think they will, I think DC United gets through tonight. But I think Red Bulls are pulling for DC. Although they didn't handle DC all that great this year. They did get a 1-0 win at Audi Field. They played 3 times. The last time they met was a 3-3 just ridiculous draw at Audi Field where Bradley Wright Phillips just kept finding ways to score to equalize. That would be enough. That would actually be a great result in a semifinal series. But both will present some challenges to the Red Bulls. I think Columbus actually presents more challenges. But both teams, I think, stylistically give the Red Bulls some different challenges than Atlanta does.
Gustavo has chimed in this morning, Jarrett. And for his Thursday thoughts, he says he has seen the Supporter Shield trophy. He says it's a horrible coin. A real trophy demands a cup. We can't exhibit it in the Atlanta United glass cabinets. I understand MLS strategy. They want the MLS Cup to be unique, but playing a regular season for this horrible coin, it's a joke.
Look, that's the way MLS is structured. I mean, you don't have that trophy for the. It's not actually an MLS trophy.
This has nothing to do with MLS. That's where it gets complicated. This was like literally, I watched it grow. I'm pretty sure I donated to it when I was in college. I can't guarantee that, and I can't confirm that, but there was a fundraising campaign on the North American Soccer email list about creating a trophy for the best regular season. And I believe at one point it was going to be called a Scudetto, just like they do in Italy. And then it came to the Supporters Shield, and it was created by supporters, and it has its own foundation. It has its own way of being handled. It is completely separate from MLS. So when you talk about how MLS handles it, that doesn't factor in. MLS and the Independent Supporters Council, I think the ISC, if they want the trophy to grow in importance, they need to truly partner with MLS on it. Otherwise, it's going to be awkward like it is.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is like the way MLS functions is the playoffs are the thing, and the Supporters Shield is a separate entity that MLS doesn't deal with. So, yeah, basically that.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's it exactly, because the playoffs, I mean, MLS created their league structure and it had playoffs. MLS didn't create this trophy, but they do talk about it a lot. They do push it. It's just they're limited in what they can do with it because it's not their trophy. So, if MLS wanted to create their own trophy for the best regular season record, people would go insane, and they should. Because the Supporters Shield has value now. But the Supporters Shield can't grow if the ISC and MLS don't partner on it more to make it a bigger deal. This is where sometimes politics and complications and all of it just become a weird, silly thing. But, I mean, Jarrett, what would you do if you were MLS at this point and the Shield? I mean, you had a good race this year. You've had big Supporters Shield races in the past. This was probably your best because you have two of the best teams in league history. How would you try to navigate it to make it a bigger deal?
I don't know, because I think it'd be a terrible look if the league just tried to hijack the Shield and take it over as their own. So I don't think you can change what it is. I like where it's at right now, that the supporters groups take care of it, but that it has importance both in the league, and it's getting more importance with media, and it has importance to getting you into CONCACAF Champions League. I like that those things matter, and I'm kind of okay where it's at right now.
I like where it's at. I do. I guess the thing that I would do, and this is coming at it probably from being in a front office and thinking about how to maximize and partner this and make it work for both sides. I think the ISC would be smart to license the use of it for merchandise as long as they get a cut, and it can then support supporters' initiatives. However the ISC chooses to do that. I mean, the ISC has to fundraise themselves to do their Independent Supporters Council meetings and get-togethers and functions, and they're a very valuable piece of soccer in the country and in North America. It's an organization that doesn't get talked about very much, but they are very, very important. And I think they could do that in a way that it wouldn't, I guess you're worried about it becoming over merchandised or whatever. I mean, I would keep it simple and allow the Supporters Shield winner to sell T-shirts and sell scarves. Probably limited at that, and the ISC gets a cut of that, because right now you can't. The Red Bulls can't do a Supporters Shield winner T-shirt. They can't do a Supporters Shield winner scarf. It feels like it's an opportunity, I think, for both, and then that would help grow what the Supporters Shield is. I mean, how much did we talk about what the Supporters Shield was and what it meant? And I think the more great races you have, the more exposure you have. I'd still have the ISC control it. I'd still have the ISC handle when it gets delivered, when it gets, displayed, all those types of things. It should remain in the control of ISC. I would just like to see ISC allow the use of it from a merchandising perspective, because one, it'd be an opportunity for them to make some money, and two, it would increase the exposure of the trophy, which is an amazing story.
And one more question before we go to break comes from Brandon, that was submitted in the overnights. Jared, let me start with you and your opinion here. Antoine Griezmann told the four-letter he wants to finish his career in MLS. Brandon says he wouldn't mind having Griezmann playing here, but I'll just go in general. What do you think about having Griezmann as playing in MLS?
Hey, I mean, there's a fit for just about everybody. I mean, you got teams don't play universal styles, so there's somebody you could fit. Just how much is he going to cost? How much your team's going to be willing to pay? And yeah, I mean, it could work. It's just you just got to make sure it's the right fit. You don't just throw him on any team just all willy nilly.
I'm always wary of guys who say they want to finish their career in MLS because I think they're looking at it as a step down. I'm always really concerned about how much are they truly going to come here to give. That would be my concern about it. I don't think he fits what Atlanta United looks for in players. I don't think he fits the model of what they're trying to do with up-and-coming players as opposed to guys on the downside of their career. There's definitely a home for him in the league if somebody wants to take that chance. But that would be my question is, how much does he have in the tank and how hard is he going to work if he's thinking about ending his career in MLS? Is it going to be Wayne Rooney or is it going to be I'm trying to think of
Gerrard?
Gerrard's not fair because
Pirlo?
I think Pirlo's probably a better one. Gerrard's not fair because his legs were gone. I think he would have done the things that Rooney's doing, but he couldn't. He physically could not. Maybe Lampard, maybe Pirlo, guys who came in and it kind of felt like they weren't all the way bought in. Rooney is bought in. Ashley Cole was one that I wasn't sure if he would be, and he was. Ashley Cole was a great player for the LA Galaxy coming here and answered every question about it. So that's just the concern is you get a guy who's kind of like, I'm banged up, I'm going to take the day off. Or, I'm only going to play 50% here.
The want-to gene is what you're looking at.
Yeah, because when you're saying you want to end your career there, you're thinking about it as lesser. And MLS needs to push forward, not take players who are at the end.
Yeah, there's a denotation there in that quote.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's if he says he wants to play in MLS, okay, fine. End your career in MLS, it has a different feel to it. All right, final break. We're going to come back. More Thursday Thoughts after this. Stay with us.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that. Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Soccer Down Here is sponsored by Appolinsky & Associates, LLC, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience. Call Steve Appolinsky at 518-350-4231 or email him at steve@aa-legal.com if you need help with a wrongful death or serious injury matter. Steve Appolinsky is rated one of the top 100 trial attorneys in Georgia, recognized as legal elite by Georgia Trend magazine for being one of the most effective lawyers in Georgia.
Final segment, Soccer Down Here, November 1st, Thursday Thoughts edition. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning. We still have a few Thursday thoughts to get to. John, what do we have?
Yes, we do. Going for the goal of the year, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 nominees. And Ricky Ricardo says that he would have voted for Zlatan, and it's the goal against LAFC in his debut, regardless of the other nominees, because his intro to MLS was that sick. But you're telling me Joseph isn't on the nominee list for his record goal, which wasn't simple and was pretty, even though it was in the video montage.
You know why it's not in there, right? You know why there's no Atlanta United goals in the Goal of the Year contest, right? The fan vote. MLS doesn't want the fans to vote for this and vote for Atlanta United. They don't. I mean, let's be honest. Remember what was the last fan vote that happened that the league did, where in the article about it, it said vote on who you think is truly the most deserving here, and something in parentheses looking at you, Atlanta United fans. I mean, duh. They're not going to put it in there. If it's not obvious, if it's not, a Zlatan-esque goal, they're not going to put the Atlanta United vote up for a fan vote. They're not. Take the fan vote out of it if you're so worried about that. And just do a vote and decide on goal of the year and do it and have everything in there truly. Like Ricky said, if it's in the montage, you would think it would be up for a vote, but they don't want that to win over something else. And it shouldn't. It should not win. The Zlatan goal, the Rooney goal that he created, there's others that were better goals this season. There's not an Atlanta United goal that is goal of the year. But if it was in the fan vote, it probably would win. That's why fan votes are kind of ridiculous to begin with, but also it's MLS not being happy about Atlanta United having a large, engaged fan base. Kind of weird that happens, but when you do fan votes, large engaged fan bases generally win fan votes. Not rocket science.
Chasing after other things here quickly. So, yeah, I would have voted for Zlatan's volley in his premiere.
Oh, yeah.
Caleb Wright has something from last night's FCD Portland match. He says, in about the 82nd, there should have been a red on Portland and a PK for Dallas for the Dallas player being pulled down so close to the goal, and with a clear shot, it was a good game otherwise. #Thursday Thoughts.
That one didn't really stick in my mind. John, you had some thoughts about it.
Yeah, I looked at it, and to me, it kind of seemed like the Dallas player in just outside of the six kind of milked the fall a little bit. So I get why it wasn't called. It was more like a grab and a spin move, and then accentuating the spin move on the Dallas side of things. So I saw it, and I was just like, nah, it looks like he's milking it a little bit. So I understood the no call there.
There were a couple of calls in both games where I had questions.
Ben Sweat?
Yeah.
Like Ben Sweat going, basically going skee balling into a guy was one of them. But
that one for sure. That one, there's no question about it. That's a bad call and a missed call. Playoffs are tough. You say that referees are going to manage a game the way they would always manage a game. You don't. You know the situation. You know that the yellow card accumulation is what it is in the playoffs, and 2 and you're out. You think about these things. They are in your head. And I think that's one reason why Sabiga didn't throw a bunch of cards at Yankee Stadium, and it's why Alan Kelly tried to keep everybody on the field and all the stupidity at the end of the first half in Dallas.
And I'm still chasing after that thing in the 82nd. Jill Robbins, the Soccer for Good OG, has a quick Thursday Thoughts idea. Perhaps the league and ISC, parenthetical idea with a question mark, support a Supporters Shield tour similar to the FIFA World Cup Trophy Tour, bring awareness to the competition and its history, then have clubs promote and events related to the tour.
That'd be awesome. That would be very cool, and I think the ISC members could do that around the league. That would be a cool thing for the first half of the season. It would take logistics. I don't know how the ISC is run and governed. I don't know how the board works and how that side would work. I don't know how the logistics would be handled. But yeah, that would be a really cool thing to do and another great partnership opportunity. MLS is just really unique in American sports with having an organized supporters council. It is an independent council, and it should absolutely remain independent. And I know there's been friction between the ISC and the league before on different things. There always will be. That's just going to happen, and everybody needs to kind of get over that, he didn't want to do what I wanted to do. Look, you're always going to have different approaches, and that's how it should be. But you are going to be in the same places. This would be an opportunity, I think, to find common ground and work together and promote something that is vital to the ISC. And, you can do something about taking donations for the Supporters Shield Foundation. And there's lots of different ways you can do it. So, yeah, I love that idea. I think it'd be a really cool thing to spread the word about the Supporters Shield.
And the Colonel comes in, morning Colonel, Thursday thoughts. So apparently Longshoe doesn't think Tata is the best dressed manager with a goofy, winking, not quite happy-faced, tongue extended emoji. That
was the most ridiculous description of an emoji I've ever heard in my life. No, I don't think Tata Martino was the best manager in the league last year. Sorry, Tata.
Best dressed manager.
Best dressed manager in the league. I did not think he was the best dressed manager in the league last year. No, sorry.
Who is the best dressed manager in the league?
Let's think about it.
Petke?
Petke's got a style. He's got a thing. It's not bad. I'm trying to think of other managers that have a bit of a style to them. Ben Olsen seems to alternate between like the suits and looking stylish on the touchline and the track suits and stuff. So he kind of goes back and forth.
Vanny?
Vanny's pretty stylish. Yeah. Vanny would be in that conversation, I think.
Vermes?
Pretty consistent. Not flashy. I might go Vanny. Yeah, I might go Greg Vanny. Sorry, Tata.
I was trying to buzz through franchises and try to figure out. So it would have probably been some combination of Olsen, Vanny, Vermes, Petke, and who would finish out your top five? Ben Olsen?
Olsen's in there. Vanny's in there. Vermes, I think, would be there. Petke, yeah. Not Bob Bradley. Bob is worse than Tata. I think Bob wears a sweatshirt from Target with jeans sometimes, like dark jeans, but jeans.
He's the Jim Harbaugh of MLS.
It's worse.
Hashtag khaki.
I mean, no, actually, it's better. Yeah, the khakis are kind of silly. Who is another manager who is somewhat stylish on the touchline? We need more style in our managers. I think this is what we've decided here this morning is we need more managers in stylish suits on the touchline.
More Cliff Kingsbury. More Cliff Kingsbury, I guess.
What is
more
Cliff Kingsbury? What does he wear?
He's just very very stylish, very GQ-ish in an athletic sense for a football coach.
But you're a football coach. You're wearing like team gear. You're not wearing a suit on the sideline.
No, Mike Nolan did that.
Yeah, that was weird because it didn't fit the game. A baseball manager wears a baseball outfit.
It fit the game when his dad coached, and that's why he did it. It was an homage to his dad.
Now, good for him. That's a nice homage, but it doesn't work now. And a football coach is not going to be best dressed manager when you're talking about soccer because you can wear a suit on the touchline. You could go full like Argentine or Mexican style and be like Ricardo La Volpe and have an untucked shirt and jeans and have a cigarette. I don't care. I don't know if that's going to fly, but the untucked shirt and jeans, I mean, hey, go for it. let's have a little more personality on the touchline, please.
So who's going to win tonight?
LAFC and Real Salt Lake in the nightcap. That's got to be LAFC. And DC and Columbus in the first one. I think it might be a little close, but I think DC United wins 2-1.
Jarrett, what do you think?
He's thinking.
Yeah, I think we got him.
He's thinking. He doesn't have an answer.
Nope,
he doesn't know.
He does not.
There he is.
No, he does not have an answer.
Colonel says Vermes, and Andrew Baker says Tata is the best dressed. He single-handedly brought back the sweater cape.
I don't know if that's something to hang your hat on. Yes. So see what you did, Atlanta United fans. Because of the Best Dressed Award, now Atlanta United goals don't get nominated for Goal of the Year.
Choose
what it is.
wardrobe or goals.
That's what it is. Anyway, I think that's a show.
I think it's a show.
We will be back tomorrow to get ready for Atlanta and New York City to recap tonight's knockout round action and anything else that pops up in the soccer world. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha playoffs, y'all. See you tomorrow.